Billy's back. Yay. I'm so excited. Billy's my friend, and it is always so much fun when I can catch him. Let's just get to the heart of the matter. Here's
Mm,
why. I mean, look, you can talk about so many different things and you do so with such eloquence and authority.
mm. Thank
But
you.
here's something that you and I have not talked about, and that
Mm,
is what's sitting right behind you,
yeah.
1111
Hmm.
numbers. I
Yeah.
want to get into numbers, Billy. I want to get into, excuse me, this idea that there is an uptick is what I've been saying in
Hmm.
people noticing number patterns
Yeah.
repeating. This has been going on for a long time, but clearly it is exponential at this point. And I want
Hmm.
to dig in, get your perspective as to what you think may be going on here. And that would include the history and the symbology of numbers. So, but let me quote what you said, and then we'll take off from there, Billy. You say, within numerology, angel numbers are number sequences, usually three or four numbers, that contain repetition, such as 111 or 4444, and or patterns such as 321 or 8787. Although they may appear in the most ordinary places, these digits usually grab our attention and, even if only for a moment, evoke a sense of wonder. The reason we're enchanted by these sequences, however, is an extension of their symbolism. It is believed that these numbers are messages from the spiritual universe that offer insight, wisdom, and directionality. Whether you assign them to angels, guides, ancestors, spirits, or simply a higher state of your own consciousness, angel numbers can confirm you're on the right path, shed invaluable insight on a complicated situation, or even illuminate the powerful mystical meaning behind recurring themes you experience throughout your life.
Hmm.
You said a lot there.
Yeah.
You said a lot there. Let's start with this.
Yeah.
This term angel numbers, I have to be really frank. That term has always been a little like, angel
Yeah.
numbers, is that what they are? And particularly coming from you, where you are so technical and you're like really into
Right.
the core behind a certain image or idea.
Hmm.
What is your when you say angel numbers, what do you mean by that in this
Well,
regard?
it's a great question. A lot of people have called them angel numbers. So if I start calling them something else, they won't know what I'm talking about. And so sometimes you reach people where they are. So when they see angel numbers, they go, "Oh, he's getting ready to talk about the numbers," you know. And so, in my personal opinion, it's angels are really angles of light. We know that there are higher dimensions that exist in 90-degree angles above one another, and there are multiple dimensions going all the way up. We know this universe consists of a minimum of at least 11 dimensions, and all those are in angles or angels of one another, according to quantum physics. So the term angel numbers, is a kind of a play on the angles, just because of when you take it into the more, I guess, the realm of where people like consider themselves to be psychics and other things. They use the term angels. Religious people use the term angels. It's a more attractive term to those people, or the masses. But I'm taking the opportunity to just get the information in front of people when I say angel numbers. It doesn't believe that I don't believe that there's higher beings and higher dimensions. I don't call them angels. I think that there's something else.
Angels, angles. Is there some actual derivative there is there some basis there? That's very interesting
Yeah.
because it does sound very, yeah, the English language is fascinating when you really dig into the
Yeah.
actual meaning.
Yeah,
Uh,
when you go into some of the ancient tablets, you discover that the ancient Sumerians were talking about these angles of light that came down. So when you go into the ancient Sumerian tablets, you discover that the Sumerians were talking about these angles of light that were coming down, and they were interacting with them. And then those angles of light later became known as angels,
hmm,
and they made it into the Bible as angels. And these angles of light were these beings that supposedly were coming from heaven to earth. And in the Atrahasis epic and in the Enuma Elish, they're known as Anunnaki,
mhm,
which
mhm.
means those who from heaven to earth came. And so, from the perspective of a human being back then, anything that came from outside the earth was spiritual, was God, was from the Creator. And so, over time, as people became more and more religious, because these beings influenced religion, they then became angels, and they had wings. If you look at the Sumerian depictions, which I'm sure you can show some photos, I'll have some for you, you'll see depictions of these beings with wings on their backs. And what do you see in modern day angels? They all have wings on their backs. Well, these wings are derivatives of the ancient Sumerian carvings that's been found now that are thousands of years old.
So I want to stick with this angle thing
Mhm.
because this is really important. You've now infused a whole other level of meaning to angle and numbers.
Yeah.
We're talking about math.
Mhm.
We're talking about math. I want to read a quote from Pythagoras. You always wonder if it actually said to have come from Pythagoras, the
Mhm.
father of mathematics, who said, and this is powerful. It's very short. Number is the within of all things.
Mhm.
He didn't say numbers. He said
Yeah.
number
Number, singular.
is the within of all things. Let's take that concept.
Mhm.
One number, singular, not plural. Let's say you're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 as an example. I know a
Mhm.
lot of people see that pattern.
Yeah.
And you were to add 1, 2, 3, 4 up all the way down to the lowest common denominator, the single digit, you get 1.
Mhm.
Within 1, or within numerology, 1 denotes typically new beginnings. Is
Mhm.
that how, I guess I'm starting with a statement, but ending up with a question. When
Yeah.
individuals are seeing number patterns, as Pythagoras said, number is the within of all things. Would it be wise for them to take that sequence and pare it down to a single digit? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I believe that you're pretty accurate with what you're saying. Your statement was pretty accurate. We're talking about the understanding that the numbers come from one source, one multidimensional source, and they stream down through the multidimensional universe down into this third dimension as a form of integrated consciousness. And us being number one is the individuality that we have, but also still being part of the whole. It gives us the capability of understanding that we ourselves have a certain level of control and understanding over our reality tunnel, but at the same time, collectively, we make up all the numbers. And so it's just like you have a radio station in your neighborhood that's broadcasting out frequencies, which are digits of numbers. And then you have a radio receiver that's able to pick up, depending on what station you're tuned to, specific digits of numbers to decode the information. If you imagine that the radio signal being sent out is spirit, and then now take that and convert it into the universal consciousness as being a transmission, each one of our avatar bodies has a capability of picking up a specific numeric frequency from the main source. And that frequency that we pick up comes from one source. It's one consciousness, but I'm 0.1, you're 0.2, somebody else is 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. And so we animate this avatar body based on that numerical system that's being streamed out from a higher dimension. But also the fact that we are living in a mathematical universe. Mathematics literally explains everything that we see. Numbers explain everything that we see and experience, including even the dimensions of our body, the way that we break down light and everything else, all based on numerical numbers, numerical systems. And so what's beginning to happen is people are finally waking up to a certain level, and there's a reason why, which I'm going to talk about in a second, where they're starting to see a little bit beyond the veil and start to recognize some of the synchronicities that are occurring right around them. And these synchronicities have been happening for millennia, but up until, really now, as we went through a dark age and come back up now into the light, we're now starting to recognize and realize that we're living in a numerical light matrix. And that's what we're really living in. It's a light matrix based on mathematics. And there's a lot of synchronicities where you see these digits of numbers and you can catch them so randomly, even in different time zones, even on your microwave oven.
Yeah.
It can be a game on TV. I've caught them on basketball games where they blow the whistle and the clock for the game, which has nothing to do with a time clock, just the amount of time left on the clock for shooting the basketball is a 3-digit a number. Or going to the gas station and seeing your gas. Yesterday my gas was $4.44. So these things are just showcasing that we are living in a programmed matrix, and these synchronistic numbers expose a little bit of what's going on behind the veil. And then
Mhm.
also you have the capability of tapping into some of these synchronicities. When you see them,
Mhm.
there should be an attention being paid to where you are, who you are, what you're doing at that moment, and what's going on around you. Because it could be a message for you to pay better attention to a situation, for the ability to get more enlightenment, to save yourself from a situation that could be detrimental, or to improve someone else's life, maybe become of service to others. Opportunities usually arise somewhere around these synchronicities.
This is really getting to the core, the heart of the matter, Billy. What do I do with this? What do
Yeah.
these mean? And
Mhm.
there is no template meaning, I would imagine. How would one start to tap into the significance if they're seeing a number pattern? For you, I
Yeah.
heard you talk with, and you're going to have to tell me his full name,
King Simon.
King Simon, you guys,
Yeah.
he is awesome. I'm actually
Mhm.
going to put a link that Billy did an interview. Actually, it's on yourforbiddenknowledge.tv, which is a fantastic
Thank you.
repository. You need to go over there. Great conversation with this
Mhm.
gentleman who is a literal king of numbers. And
Yeah.
in the conversation, I know you talked about 4 being something that's very close to you. When
Mhm.
did you notice this, and how have you been able to distill the 4 meaning in your life, if at all?
It's pretty interesting because I'm born on the 4th, September the 4th, and my master number is 44, which is a super powerful number, which I didn't learn this until much later. But when I got my first numerical reading, the gentleman that was reading me, who had never met me before, knew nothing about me, and this was in the mountains in Jamaica. He didn't even have internet, so it couldn't look me up on Instagram or nothing else. But some of the things he told me, I had never told anybody. Just from my numbers based on my name, he got the number 44 out of my full name with this numerical code that the numerologists know how to break down. And he started telling me things about my heart. He said, when you were born, you had a hole in your heart, which is a fact. I have a heart murmur. I was born with a heart murmur. He knew about my kids and how many kids I had and the type of businesses I've had and how I'm so structured and how I work and how I'm able to multitask and run multiple corporations at the same time. And I've been very successful and how tedious I am. And he just laid it all out. So after that happened, that was years ago, I started paying a lot more attention to the 4s. Now, here's what's interesting. I used to see a lot of 222s and 333s. But once I was brought aware of the number 4, and I had awareness brought to that number, I have videos on my Facebook where I would went to Walmart in the middle of the night, random, just to pick up some candles. And they were $4.44. I mean, just crazy stuff like that. So, I mean, every single day, 2 or 3 times a day, I'm seeing 444 somewhere. And it's pretty interesting that once my attention was brought, or my awareness was brought to that number, at the synchronicity between me and that number in random places all over the world. And I've been around the world 5 times in 2022. It's everywhere and it's almost in everything. And when I see the number, 2 things happen for me. The first thing is I go, I'm still in my flow state, because I truly do believe that the synchronicity of me seeing these numbers represents the state of mind that I'm in. And right now, I'm in a super, super flow state. People who know me and have seen where I've gone just in the past 5 years from there to here, the flow state's been incredible. My accomplishments have been through the roof, and going and ongoing. And I'm just steadily moving on this incline. And
Love
so
it.
I feel like I'm still in my flow state. The second thing is I pause and then I evaluate my current situation. And a lot of the times I feel I either remember something that I forgot to do, I see an opportunity to help somebody, or I recognize a situation that if I make a decision either this way or that way, it can be good or it can be bad. So now I stop and I pause. I just don't go, oh, cool, I saw the number again, and keep on going.
Right.
I pause and take a moment for self-reflection and see what I can get out of that moment. Now, even if it's not having to do directly with the linking of the number or the synchronicity of seeing the number, I think it's great that these numbers, if you really stop and do that, if you have the time to stop and take a moment for self-reflection, I think you can actually tap into some level of enlightenment in that moment, whether it's just a number popping up and you're taking a self-reflection just on your own, or something synchronicity to it. But I'm telling you, it's amazing because I've been able to change and enhance so many things just from stopping for that moment of self-reflection and getting myself in brain-heart coherence.
That's so powerful, Billy. Uh,
Mm.
I have often asked the question, when we look at the nature of the universe and how it works, magic is
Mhm.
around us all the time.
Yep.
Synchronicity is available, I will say,
Mhm.
absolutely all of the time,
Mm,
except for one very important caveat. You've got to notice it. By noticing it, by
yeah.
acknowledging what it is,
Hmm.
I believe brings about more of it and helps to catalyze your
Mm,
own intelligence or
right.
acts as a catalyst for your own um, mm, beyond intelligence, enlightenment, literally
Hmm.
enlightenment. I want to read something to you. You bringing up the 444. I know somebody out there right now is probably seeing 444 or 4 or 44. Excuse me. That's a very well, they call that the angel number. I think some refer to that as an angel number, but
Yeah.
according to your understanding, they all have an angle aspect. This one is from Dagmara, a dear friend in and patron journeyer in Australia, who says this.
Thank you.
She says, "Yes, we are we aware ones all have our repeating numbers. For me, it's 111,
Mm,
123, and very strongly 444 and
mm,
44. My question is, could there be a link with my particular repeating numbers and the emerald tablets?
mm,
The 144,000 prophesized light workers, I've read the tablets and they have had quite an effect on me," is
mhm,
what she says.
mm.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, it's very interesting. That number 44, 144, there were 144,000 casing stones on the Great Pyramid. Some religions believe that only 144,000 people are going to make it to heaven, or what they call the paradise, right? And so we see this recurring theme of this 144 being a very important number, even in the biblical text. 144,000, angels are coming down with Jesus on his return, and so there's always this theme of this 144,000 over and over again throughout history, through many different civilizations and through many vastly different time periods. It makes you scratch your head, like, what is up with this 144,000? It's
Right.
got to be a significant number, or they wouldn't have put 144,000 casing stones on the Great Pyramid. So there's a reason behind this, and it has a deep significance that goes far beyond any text that we have laying around, even the biblical text, even the Sumerian text. I think it goes even far beyond that. The oldest account of the Great Pyramid being built is in the Emerald Tablets, and that was approximately between 36,000 to 38,000 years ago, when Thoth, the Atlantean priest king who ruled over the land of Kem before it was called Egypt for 14,000 years, he wrote down himself in his own tablets that he had built the Great Pyramid
Mm,
patterned after Earth's force, and he built it to stand the test of time so that it too might remain through the ages, which it has. And
wow.
so you have to think, at the time that he architected this and drew the floor plan for this and had it created and built, he already had worked in 144,000 casing stones. So we're talking about this number 144,000 going back at least 36 to 38,000 years ago.
Absolutely. Let's just play with this for a minute. 144. I'm going to take the 1,000 out. Let's just play with the number 144.
Hmm.
Numerologically, it's 9.
Yeah.
9 denotes, among other things, endings and new beginnings.
Hmm.
Because in numerology, it doesn't go 1 through 10, it goes 1 through 9, and then you start at 1 again.
Yes.
9 could be viewed as revelation. I'm just playing with it. I'm just saying.
Hmm.
What do you think? Let's play with that for a minute.
It's interesting. I like to really break down the 144,000 and see if we can find 3, 6, and 9 in there.
Hmm.
Like Tesla said, if you can discover the mystery of 369, you know the mysteries of the universe. But yeah, the 9 is a pretty significant number because it is an important number in a lot of mathematical computations. First and foremost,
That's right.
it, I mean, it's almost everywhere. You almost can't escape it, especially in things that are naturally occurring in nature. And according to what one of the notes that I took with King Simon on the number 9, he says, as the final digit in numerology, the presence of 9 suggests a chapter may be coming to an end. Witnessing 9 as an angel number uh, is a sign that meaningful cycle could come to a close, and you'll soon have a beginning of a brand new journey. So it's not really the ending, like it end times ending, but the end of a cycle and the beginning
In the
of a
beginning of
new
a new one.
cycle.
That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. Oh my God, I'm getting chills. Whatever you multiply 9 with comes out to be 9. You can't
Hmm.
escape it. 9 times 2 is 18. 1 and 8 is 9.
Hmm.
Right? Right?
Yes, you
9
can build a
times
whole
9 is
pyramid from that
81.
mathematical.
8 and 1
Yeah,
is 9.
Yeah.
There's something powerful here. Something else just came to me. Tesla said, if you can discover the secret of 369, you know what the secret is?
Mm.
It's 9. Because if
Mhm.
you take 3, 6, and 9 and add it up, you take 3 and 6, it's 9. That
Mhm.
means you now have 2 nines. 3 and
Yep.
6 is 9 plus 9. 9
Mhm.
and 9 is 81. 8 and 1 is 9.
Mhm. And there's something to that. I mean, he literally would walk around his building that he was living in near his death,
Yeah.
3 times, and he would go up certain floors a certain number of times. Everything he had to do had to add to 369. And so it was something to it. And what's interesting is before I moved into the previous house, this is 2 moves ago, I was starting fresh, talking about starting over. I was starting fresh out of one relationship to live on my own and start from 0 again. And I went to this place. It was a brand new construction in Sunrise, Florida. And I was like, this place was so beautiful and so tranquil. A 180-degree water view. It's a condo. I never lived in the condo before, but I said, I'll give it a try. This is a brand new place. It was built on a Zen layout, and it even had a meditation hall inside of the building. So I said, you know what, I'll try this place. So I go and we're looking. We couldn't find an open available unit. Finally, we found one, the one that I ended up picking, and it was 369, number 369. And I said, oh, this is it. This is it. I have to stay here, which I did for 3 years. So it's a powerful thing. But that 9 definitely for me signified a new beginning.
Let's go back to 4 because this is your number, right?
Right.
4
Yeah.
is that your life? Did you say it is your life number? 4?
44 is my master number.
44.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm born on the 4th of September. And my name fully spelled out in numerology comes out to a 44.
A 44. Wow.
Yeah.
The
So
4
pretty
year
interesting.
was a powerful year, the last 4 year, because it was 2020 and we all know what happened there.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I literally excelled the most I've ever excelled in my life since I've been in business and in life in these last 4 years. Yeah,
4.
4 is a powerful number. And when I'm talking with King Simon, it symbolizes observing 4 as an angel number or a number of, like I call it, angles. It suggests that you are in the process of grounding, rooting, and cultivating an infrastructure that's truly built to last. And if you look at what I've done with Forbidden Knowledge, I've anchored it, I've structured it, I've built teams, I got a board of directors. We've had 2 rounds of funding, and we're heading into our 3rd round of funding literally any moment now. And then we're going to uplist to NASDAQ. We have over 5,000 investors in Forbidden Knowledge, people who bought shares of the company. And the TV network is expanding with over 6,000 shows. And my documentary that I did, the first one I've ever done, got Independent Film of the Year. So
Yay.
it's just so powerful and so accurate. So I'm just continuing to build and just trying to maintain my flow state.
Forbidden knowledge.
Yeah.
I
4.
won't
That's
even
number
ask you.
4.
I think we know where it came from, and you always
Yeah. And interestingly, when I made that name, I had no link or connection or understanding of the 4s. I just knew
Really?
that, yeah, I
Oh,
didn't. Yeah, so what I did was I wrote out the name Forbidden Knowledge. And I said, okay, what if I just use the number 4? It just came to me. So I used the number 4 instead of FOR. But it's all is, see, everything is a fractal. And so it came, the essence of the 4 came out of me into my conscious thought and said, no, make it a 4 because you are a 4. And that's exactly what I did. And that's how Forbidden Knowledge came out,
isn't that something? And it's
2011.
so powerful that it came before your full recognition of the significance of 4, but you had unconscious recognition. It was there. At some level, we know, even
Mhm.
though we don't think we know.
Exactly. Yeah, it's in there. It's all the knowledge and wisdom, all the information throughout the entire universe is contained inside of our bodies.
Every cell.
That's right.
It's powerful stuff. Let me give you another patron question. This is from Victorina. Hi, Vic. Thank you for your question. She says, my numbers are always with a 0 in the middle.
Mm,
909, 606, 303, 404, 505. A lot.
mm.
And to me, it looks like SOS. I put in
Wow,
the for me because to her, it looks like SOS. What's that about? What do you
that's
think that's about?
interesting. Wow, that's powerful. I've never heard that exact sequence before, but that's pretty interesting because it would look like an SOS, which is a call out for help, but maybe it's to help yourself. or just to be awareness of people in need of help. It could not be, it doesn't always have to be something derogatory or negative that's going to happen, like you're in trouble. It could be, there could be somebody else that in your surroundings that needs assistance. And our biggest thing that we can do on this planet is be of service to others.
Absolutely.
But one King Simon's notes again, zero is associated with new opportunities. And when you witness a zero in sequence within a set of 3 or 4, this could signify a fresh start. And you're at a very beginning of a brand new cycle, which means you can create whatever your heart desires, which is pretty interesting. But she's seeing a combination of 2 different, which means it could be a message, to create the SOS. 5 suggests major changes could be on the horizon. So it could be a combination of a new cycle and major changes. So just something for her to self-reflect, because she knows her life and her path better than anyone else. And every time you see it, it's time to sit back and reflect and see what could this possibly mean for me? Where am I right now? Who am I in contact with? Who are my connections? Who are my inner network, my inner circle? What obligations do I have? Who around me needs assistance in any way, shape, or form? And start that kind of thinking, and everything will then, the universe will just send it right to you. All
Just
that
by
information you
asking.
desire will come right to you.
Okay. So
Yeah.
here's mine. I got to do mine. Of course, 1111 is,
Mm.
it dips and it waxes and wanes in and out of my life. It's very interesting. My husband too. But
Wow.
55 has been pretty much a constant. I see it several times a day,
Mm.
probably for the last couple of years.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Yeah. Well, that's not an easy number from my mindset. It's not an easy number to find. That's pretty cool. Wow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What are your
That's
thoughts on it,
amazing.
on the significance? 55 all the time.
It's all about, it matches, it matches right now where you're sitting in your house. I mean, new change on the horizon, which has happened. And it says if you've been feeling stuck, stifled, or inspired, observing 5 as an angel number, with 3 or 4, it says either within a set of 3, 4, or 4 digits, reveals a massive shift might be in the works. For now, these transformations might be occurring behind the scenes. In other words, key decision makers are still weighing options, but 5 appearing as an angel number suggests you're on the right path. So it's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's the double. It's 9 times out of 10, it's on a clock, and it'll be
Yeah.
55 past the hour. Sometimes it's
Wow.
5:55, but it's
Yeah.
3, 4 times a day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Mhm.
pretty cool. It's so
Okay.
amazing how these numbers, we just catch them. I mean, it doesn't matter what time zone you're in. You switch time zone, you still catch them. That's how you know it's outside of
Yes.
time. You catch it on a microwave or an oven time clock. You catch it on your watch or your cell phone. It's just so random where it could be. It could be on a TV show. It could be anywhere. It could be in, like I said, the gas pump. I mean, that's not even a clock. So it's just amazing how we're drawn to see these synchronicities occurring all around us. To me, it's definitely coding of the matrix, stopping and saying, hey, look at this. And that's our signal to then, I believe, reflect on the flow state that we're in, the mindset, what we're doing, how we're doing it, who we're interacting with, how we're interacting with them, and just maybe even to thank ourselves for the blessings that we have.
Mhm.
Well, there's one thing in particular that's in astrophysics, that's peer reviewed, that's documented science, taught in astrophysics in universities. I believe it has effect on biology. And so what it is our solar system, okay, it orbits the Milky Way galaxy, because our sun orbits the Milky Way galaxy. We're on that outer arm way out in the boondocks of the Milky Way galaxy. But our solar system undulates up and down as it's orbiting around the central of the giant supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. It undulates up and down. Those undulations represents hundreds of millions of miles up, hundreds of millions of miles down. Now, what's interesting is just within the last 8 years, we reached a point through the undulation or the movement of our solar system where it has reached a total equal plane with the center of the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. And that supermassive black hole is emitting and sending out an enormous amount of energetic particles on that plane. And we're now receiving those particles directly. Those particles even penetrate solid matter. They're affecting our DNA. They're hitting and pinging our DNA and changing the way our bodies are, changing our genes and everything else, and even our consciousness, even the way our neurons fire in our brains. So I believe that this particular cycle, which is what the minds were talking about the whole time, it was never the end of the world. If you go back in my old post, I would say people were going, it's the end of the world. The world's going to end 2012. It's like, no, it's the end of a cycle. We're going into a beginning of a new cycle. Right after 2012, we hit that point where we actually are at the midpoint. We're actually hovering right around the centerpiece or the equatorial plane of the supermassive black hole, receiving all these charged particles, which are altering our consciousness and our DNA all around the planet. And so that's where we are right now. And I believe that that energetic field that we're in right now, in some way, shape, or form, has allowed us to tap into seeing these synchronicities, becoming more conscious, asking more questions, breaking out of the old dogma of religions and starting to seek more spirituality. This is the part of a new cycle, as the Mayans talked about, that we're headed into, this age of enlightenment.
I have finally gotten the insight that I have yet to receive, Billy, from any conversation. I'm sorry, any conversation I've had.
Yeah.
Billy, I think you just explained, at least in part, why. Holy beep. That's huge. And it makes sense.
Knowledge.
Forbidden knowledge. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And it would account for so many other enigmatic, anomalous,
yes,
wonkiness that's going on. We're living in I have said it, I'll say it again. We're living at a metaphysically potent time. Billy may have just explained why.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to wane anytime soon, huh?
Oh, no. We've got thousands of years to this plane of existence. So we're going to see a huge push. We're in the Tetra Yuga. If you understand the Yuga cycles, we've gone through the bronze and everything. We're in the beginning of a silver age, trying to get ourselves back up towards a new golden age. And so we're going to be here and moving up consistently over time.
Even in the beginning of the pandemic, I said something has happened here metaphysically. I described it as feeling as if we had been moved to another part of the galaxy, literally. Now, this is my own crude sort of interpretation or distillation. I felt I used the Wizard of Oz scenario where Dorothy, 1 minute she's in her home, where the screen is black and white. And when she opens the door, she's in Oz and it's full color. You're not in Kansas anymore. But that's not a bad thing. We are not in Kansas anymore. Now, Billy, here's what I want to talk about over on the after show. We didn't get to the legend and the myth behind the number 13. It's not what you think. And I want to talk about that. And I also want to talk about synesthesia, something that you and I share in common. I don't know if you recall, we talked about that, I believe, in our first interview, and it came up once again in your interview with King
Simon.
I want to call him King Solomon. That's why I keep pausing.
I know, right? King Solomon's temple. I know.
Right?
I've almost called him King Solomon so many times, so don't feel bad.
Okay, good. Because I know it's not that. Okay, King Simon. We're going to talk about that. We've taken a lot of pictures together when we've been at events, and I know every picture that we have. This is Billy right here with 4. Got to have that 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of 4, we've been talking about numbers, not the least of which, Billy, is this number 13, which, by the way, if you add it, you get,
of course, you get 4.
So let's start with that. Again, King Simon, who his ears must be burning now, Billy. You got to put me in touch with him. I want him
He's
on the
going to
show.
call me in a minute.
Probably.
Yeah.
You all touched on that when you interviewed him in terms of the misconception of 13 and the history and where that may have come from. This perhaps intentional cursing of the number, calling it bad luck when it is anything but. It could be just the opposite. I want to get into that. And we can start with the fact that when you add 1 and 3 in numerology, you get the number 4, of which is an angel number. Let's talk about that. Number 13. What's that all about?
Number 13 for me was very powerful because that was my high school sports number. Any sport I played, I picked the number 13. And the reason why I picked number 13 was because from my visual perspective, it looked like a B for Billy.
Mhm,
So I was
mhm.
always running around with a B on my chest for my own name. Because I always, from even a young age, I believed in the power of myself and that I was always the best in any sport. And so it was like I had, instead of having an S on my chest, I had a B on my chest. So the number 13 for me was a logical number to pick. I didn't realize it was a 4 until much later in my life. And I was like, oh my God, I've been running around with a 4 on my chest the whole time. No wonder why I love this number so much. And I tell you, for me, it was a lucky number because I was a phenomenal athlete. I,
Mhm.
I was always, in the paper or scoring a lot of points or saving the team or hitting a game shot or whatever it was. But for me, 13 was phenomenal. And I got to wear that number 13 again. We had a high school basketball reunion where my team from the 1980s went against the team from the late 2000s. I think it was 2000. 2020, I think it's 2016.
Mhm.
So the 2016 championship team from my same high school, state champs, played against the old versus new game, and I got my number 13 back on my chest again. And I came up of double screen, and the first shot I took from three was nothing but butter. So I still had the power. And that game went into triple overtime. And we ended up having to just stop the game because neither side could win. So the old guys, we still had it, and we had to just end it because it was going too late in the afternoon and people had to go home. But 13 for me is a powerful number. Now, like you say, 1 and 3 is a 4,
Mhm.
and King Simon believes it's a very spiritual number. And when you look into the number itself, it goes back into the ancient Indian Vedas. It's one of the most powerful numbers in the Vedas. It's a very spiritual number, and it's a sacred number. It's not, they call it a sacred number. That's, now
Mhm.
when you call something sacred, that's another level. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right, right.
And so they say sacred number 13 is considered to be a very karmic number in numerology. It's associated with the divine. So now we know that we as human beings, we are all divine because the spark that created everything in the entire universe is inside of every single atom in our body. So we're divine too. So it's God-like. It's the God energy. So we know it's the blueprint for God. And they're saying it's said to bring good luck and prosperity to those who embrace it. So this could be
To those
why
who
the
embrace it.
mainstream says, "Hey, this is bad." Because if you embrace it,
Exactly.
you're gonna see good things and have good tidings and have good experiences. And they like fear. Fear allows them to control and dominate you. So no, 13 is killing, murder. We're gonna make whole movies about the number 13. And on the Friday the 13th, you're gonna get stabbed in the head while you're
You're
sleeping and all this
gonna
kind of crazy stuff. So it's all a play on the 13, which has really started out to be known as a divine sacred number.
That's stunning. When we were speaking off air, I had mentioned to you that somehow intuitively, I wouldn't even assign it to me being intuitive as a kid, but I probably
Mhm.
was. I didn't buy it. I said,
Mm,
I think this is a trick."
mm.
It's interesting because, I started my career in broadcasting back in 1986. I
Wow.
can't believe it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Forget I just said that. Quite a few years ago. And when I worked at a radio station in Boston, one of them, WVBF-FM, was in the Prudential Center, the very famous Prudential Center. Well, guess what floor our radio station was on? Yes,
Mm,
there was a 13th floor, and we were on the 13th floor. That was an
wow.
anomaly because many
Mm,
buildings, as you know, are built without
that's
that
right.
level for this same myth that has been put out there.
That's so true.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't know if anyone else acknowledged it, but, I did. I'm like, "Oh, we're on a lucky floor, 13."
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Lucky 13.
yeah, you all recall, Billy, if you recall, the day that at the time President Trump declared a state of emergency was on
Mhm.
Friday the 13th.
Mm, that is correct. That is correct. He sure did. Everybody was freaking out.
And even if we're not consciously picking it up, "Oh, the state of emergency was announced on Friday the 13th." Even if it
Mhm.
comes in hindsight, it's registered subconsciously because of the
Right.
repetition and the indoctrination of
Mhm.
13 equaling, as far as you're concerned, a bad
Mm.
number. It doesn't even matter whether if you acknowledge, put 2 and 2 together on Friday the 13th. "Oh my god. this was announced on Friday the 13th. The fact is, it's
Mhm.
embedded in your subconscious that this is what
Right.
this means.
Mhm.
We don't want to go down this rabbit hole this deep
Yeah.
for this show, but I'm just saying that's
Right.
I found that quite interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah, things like for women, don't put your purse on the floor. And I thought, I think I'm gonna put my purse on the floor because it must be trying to hide something. Because guess what? There are many gems in the core of the earth, and I want
Mhm.
my purse close to those gems. I
Right,
would do
right.
stuff like that when I was a
Yeah.
younger person. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But we just, people like us, we just see things differently,
Mhm.
you know. We don't see things the way that everybody, and that's what has made us different. That's what has allowed us to get our message out to impact as many people's lives as we have, is because we don't go with the status quo. We
Yeah.
look at things from a higher level of understanding, and we say, you know what? Well, what if this? We
Mhm.
ask questions. Well, what if that? Or we base it on some of our own based on from research and go, well, no, that can't be accurate because of this. And that's what separates us from a lot of people and gives us the ability to, experience and live our best lives. And so yeah, I'm always thinking like that. People say you see some people see the glass half empty, some people see it half full. I don't see either.
You don't see either.
I
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
there is no glass. There's
yeah,
no
yeah. I
there's
mean,
no box. Mm-mm. Are there any practices that you could impart to individuals that are seeing whatever the pattern is?
Mhm. Yeah.
A
Well, I'll tell you one of the things
mantra.
that I've been doing
Yeah.
over the past 2 years. I meditate. I have several different types of meditation: a manifestation meditation, I have a cosmic meditation, and then I have a meditation allows me to focus on numbers. It's not specifically numerical patterns, but I
Mhm.
understand that the entire universe, the language of God, is math. That is the language of God, mathematics. With mathematics, we can speak to any race in the entire universe, because once you reach a certain level of sentient understanding, you're gonna learn mathematics, and because of mathematics, we can communicate with anybody, including the creator itself.
Mhm.
And so I really truly believe in the number. So I'll have this
Mhm.
mathematical meditation where I would just go and get my mind ready, and I would see a bowl in my mind, and I would see a hand reaching in the bowl, taking my thoughts out little by little, just grabbing handfuls of thoughts till I can get the bowl almost empty. It's hard to get it completely empty, but I get it almost empty. And then I just sit there and I just allow the universe to fill it up with numbers, just random numbers coming in.
Hmm.
I'm not looking to get anything out of it. I'm not looking to tap into any, information or get any readings or insights. I'm just allowing the math of the universe to fill up that bowl. And then once the bowl is filled, I'll just sit there for 10 or 15 minutes and then I'm done. Now, does
No
it work
expectation coming out of it. You're just going through the process of replacing your thoughts with numbers, letting the
with
universe fill
numbers?
up the bowl.
Right. Random numbers coming out of it's so amazing because once you do it, once you see it, you see these numbers just coming out of nowhere. Random numbers that you're not even thinking of, just filling up this bowl. Thousands of numbers just filling up this bowl inside of your head. And then once the bowl is full, that's about around the time that it's almost done. And then that's it. I in my meditation, I'm done. And so for me, what the reason why I do that is because I feel in some way that I'm getting downloaded information that's coming into my body, and that at some point when I need that information, it's going to make itself available to me. It's going to be an upload back to my mainstream consciousness. I'm going to go back into my CPU and I'm going to be able to access it or use it, or I'm going to have a reflection or better insight. It's going to give me something that I need in the future
I
at
love it.
some point in time. And so that's why I do these number meditations.
I love it. Did you just come up with this on your own?
Yeah, I have these thought experiments I've been doing since I was a kid. I do thought
Yeah, me too.
experiments all the
Me
time.
too. Me
Yeah,
too. I'm not lying to you. Me too.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
It's the
such a
best.
big proponent of improvisation in spiritual practice. I was
Yes.
trained in transcendental meditation at the age of what? 13.
Mm, wow.
That just dawned on me. Yeah, my parents, they were goofy. No, I'm being
Yeah.
funny. That's what we did. They took me to TM. We took a
Mhm.
family TM class. So I started that process. I
Wow.
had a mantra. The guy said, never tell your mantra. And me being miss he watched me. I went and told everyone my mantra because he told me not to. And but I had this inclination to toss the mantra and just play with different approaches to meditation. I've been doing that ever since. And I
Yeah.
think that it is actually that's 90% of enlightenment is reaching into the improvisational bag
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
putting together things, which really is not improvisation. It's channeling to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do thought experiments just like you.
Mhm.
I do.
Yeah. It's the greatest. Look at Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was one of the greatest martial artists of all time. What did he took? He took Wing Chun, which he became a master at. He learned it from Ip Man. And then he took Wing Chun and then he altered it to create his own version of martial arts. And then he taught that to people. And you see the levels that he had gotten to. And
Yeah.
so, you take the information, we're both the student, the teacher, and the master. So when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. When the teacher is ready, the master will appear.
Okay.
At some point, you have to recognize that you are also the master.
Let's talk about synesthesia for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Synesthesia, for those of you that don't know, I have a feeling many of you do. It's a fascinating concept, and it's been called a condition. I don't like calling it that because I think it's a
Yeah.
state of being. It's a state
Right.
of consciousness, but it's described as, and it's experienced, and I'll talk about my own experience, but um, of having a certain sense. Tell me if I'm right, Billy. Having a certain sense and it triggering another sense. In other words, we're talking about numbers. You see a number and it may trigger a color in your
Right.
mind or a smell, or
Mhm.
you may be able to decode a smell in uh, in music. It's
Mhm.
almost like a cross wiring of senses,
Yeah.
right?
It's a
Uh,
crosswire. So, for example, my audio and visual cortex are merged. I was born that way.
mhm.
So I'm getting this cross. I don't want to call it cross contamination because contamination is a bad word to use, but
Cross signaling.
the information from auditory and visual are getting mixed and crossed up consistently.
Mhm,
Okay, and in the beginning, when I was young, I remember like, okay, well, I used to ask my brother, "Do you see that?" When a
mm,
noise would go off or something, and can you see these
mm,
colors? And he would be like, "What are you talking about? What colors?" I
mhm,
would ask my
mhm.
mom. She didn't know what I was talking about. My dad didn't know. My sister didn't know, and my other brother wasn't born yet. And I was like, "What is going on?" So I said, "Maybe I don't know." So when I got to school, I started asking people in school, and they were like, "Man, you're crazy."
I can only
So
imagine your
I just
poor
said, "I
thing.
don't know what it is. Nobody could see it but me." So I just tried to find a way to ignore it, over time,
Mhm.
even though it was very distracting at times. And then when I got older, I think I was 27. That's when I was finally diagnosed from a doctor. And I was like, oh man, well, that explains it, this whole time.
And
Were
he
you talking
called it
about this
synesthesia?
crossing of things?
He
Hmm?
called it synesthesia?
Yeah, yeah. And he did they did tests on me. They sent me to a hearing place and a vision place. And when he had given me one of those, what do you call it when you write to go to different doctors or referrals?
Mhm.
And then they collaborated and came up with the theory uh, that I had
That
synesthesia.
you're a synesthete. For
Yeah.
the record, I am a synesthete as well.
Mm.
I'm a
Yeah.
synesthete as well. I think I've told you that, yeah. And I
Yeah.
did not know, that there was such a name for
Yeah.
my circumstances until, decade or so ago.
Mm. Mm.
Today is a navy blue day. It's
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Days of the week and months of the year, I have always and forever associated with the same colors. They
Mm.
never deviate.
Yeah.
It's not even that, I see, I'm looking at this white light. That's Saturday.
Mhm.
There's no debating it. And for me, it's, tones. It's not just primary colors, it's secondary colors. I've
Right.
got three days of the week that are tones of blue. Today's
Mm.
navy blue,
Mhm.
Wednesday is more of an indigo, and Friday is this other shade that I could only show you.
Mhm.
It's just one of those things. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
What does it mean? How do we so those of us, and I have a feeling there may be some in the audience that have these qualities.
Mhm.
How might we, if at all, differently process this number phenomenon? Are we
Mhm.
more, apt to see these number patterns, do something with
Well,
them?
I
What?
see numbers all the time because my synesthesia is the form that when I hear sounds, even your voice generates numbers. Every sound that I hear, even the lawnmower going off outside right now with the yard man and the weed whacker guy, those all generates colors, and those colors are then linked to numbers. So I'm consistently seeing numbers all the time. The numbers that I'm seeing are never, well, not never. Every now and then they have like 2 or 3 digits the same, but it's not that often, to be quite honest with you. Which is pretty interesting.
Mhm.
They're more of a random number. Not too many times are there just two or three together. Just usually like 7 or 8 different numbers. But it's pretty interesting that a lot of synesthesia, a lot of people with synesthesia, they see numbers when they hear sounds, or when they see numbers, they see colors, or when they see colors, they get feelings. Like for me, if I have anything that's a bright color, like what do you call that? The pink, the bright pinks and the bright
Fuchsia?
greens, fuchsia, and all those kind of colors, those neon. If they're moving too fast in front of my eyes, it generates this sensation inside of my chest, which is very irritating.
Mhm. Mhm.
So people with synesthesia will see or hear a word and taste food, see a
I do.
shape and
I
taste
do.
food.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Hear sounds and see shapes or patterns. Hear sounds after you smell a certain scent. Hear sounds and taste food. Feel an object with your hands and hear a sound.
Yeah.
And feeling touched and seeing someone will give you the same sensation as being touched. So it's just this weird combination. There's so many variations of it that occur, but 1 in 100,000 people have this. Mary J. Blige, Billy Joel,
Pharrell.
Pharrell, just to name a
Linda
few. There's
Moulton
many people.
Howe. Did you know that Linda Moulton Howe is a synesthete?
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't
Ye
know. Wow. We never had the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, once I acknowledged and knew that I was in really good company because you feel alone if you have no context for,
I know.
why is
Yeah.
and people
It's
have asked me, where did the number do you think maybe you learned it in nursery school or kindergarten, associating days of the week? That's the primary thing for me, days of the week with color.
mm,
And I had to think about that and say, well, no, because the colors aren't primary. I mean, let's say someone was holding up flashcards to help me memorize days of the week, they would be
mhm.
primary, red, blue,
Yeah. Right.
green, etc. No,
Hmm.
these are, I can run it off.
Yeah.
Monday, I'm looking at my laptop, leather laptop. That's Monday. It's like a pumpkin orangish.
Mm,
Tuesday's navy blue. Wednesday's indigo. Thursday is lime green.
mm,
Friday is another blue,
mhm.
dark blue. Saturday is white, and Sunday is blood red.
Mm.
Period. It's
Yeah.
always been that way for me. As
Yeah.
for food, I'll say this. And I don't know how to describe the sensation. I will taste food in my mind
Mm,
and it comes arbitrarily. I'll be working on something and I'm not hungry,
mhm.
but I will recall
Wow.
lobster.
Mm.
I don't know. It just whatever it wants to be, and I'm processing it with my brain, not
Yeah.
my taste buds.
Mm. Wow. Well, that's where everything gets processed anyway. So the
Yes. Yeah.
taste buds themselves actually don't even know what they're tasting. They collect data from the food that's put on top of their tongue, on top of those nerve endings, and transmit it to the brain. Then the brain creates this taste, which is all an illusion.
Hmm.
Pretty interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Closing thoughts on numbers, and then we'll let you go. What should we do with numbers in 2023?
In 2023, I would say just dream big. Whatever you're doing that involves any number at all, put the best and biggest and largest number you can conceive on that thing. I wrote myself a check for $1 billion. And so just put the numbers, dream big with the numbers. When it comes to numbers, just dream big. Have your number meditation like I did. Just a thought experiment
I
I
love
created a couple of years ago, and I've been doing it, and I just feel like it's been a benefit to me, so I never stopped. Just see a bowl in your mind and see a hand removing your thoughts out of that bowl until it's empty, and then just sit there in a quiet place and just allow the universe to fill your mind, fill that bowl in your mind with numbers. And I just believe it's a blessing. I believe it's just knowledge and information being downloaded right to your mind from
Mhm,
the universe.
mhm.
And don't forget, in 2023, the first and foremost thing is to be of service to others, acts of kindness. This is going to help you explode this year and make it one of the most incredible and best years you can ever have. I believe this is going to be one of the greatest years of my life. And if you believe that too for yourself, it will be.
It will
Don't
be.
let the fear porn from the news and the media and everything else bring you down. You will be blindsided. You will have bumps in the road. You will have hurdles to jump over. At the end of the day, stay positive and believe in yourself.
Billy Carson, thank you so much for forbiddenknowledge.tv.
Right.
I always like to say, I love you, Billy.
I love you too. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I love your journey. You're the greatest.